The Battle of Trafalgar, a key moment in the struggle for naval supremacy. Let's dive into the history of one of the most significant events in world history, the Battle of Trafalgar, which took place on October 21, 1805. This was not just a naval battle, but an entire era of confrontation between Great Britain and France for the right to be called the leading maritime power in the world. In the early 19th century, Europe was in a state of constant tension due to Napoleon Bonaparte's ambitions. The French emperor was striving to create a united Europe under his control, which caused serious concern among other European states, especially Great Britain. As an island nation, England has always paid special attention to the development of its navy, realizing that naval power is the key to the country's prosperity. Historical context of the early 19th century. Before we proceed, it's important to understand why such intense confrontation arose precisely during this period. To better grasp the situation, let's examine the economic and political climate of the time. After the French Revolution, Europe was undergoing significant changes. The old order had collapsed, and a new system of values emerged. France, having become a republic, rapidly gained strength under the leadership of the talented general Napoleon Bonaparte. His victories on land were legendary, but to conquer all of Europe, he needed to master the seas as well. At this time, Great Britain was already a leading player in global trade. The British Empire was actively developing its colonies, which brought enormous profits. The navy was the main tool for protecting these trade routes and interests. Therefore, it was critically important for England to maintain its naval superiority. Napoleon's plans for invasion of England. From the very beginning of his reign, Napoleon realized that eliminating the British threat was essential for complete control over Europe. However, crossing the English Channel was impossible due to the powerful British fleet led by Admiral Horatio Nelson. Bonaparte devised a complex plan to distract the British fleet. He decided to send the French fleet to the Caribbean Sea, hoping that Nelson would follow. Then the French were supposed to quickly return and ensure safe passage for troops across the Channel. However, this strategy failed due to several factors. 1. Admiral Pierre de Villeneuve lacked sufficient experience. 2. Many experienced officers had been executed during the Revolution. 3. Coordination between the French and Spanish forces was complicated by differences in tactics and language barriers. When the French fleet actually went to the Caribbean, Nelson didn't fall for the trap and kept his forces in Europe. After returning from the Caribbean, the French fleet joined with the Spanish off Cape Trafalgar. Preparation for the decisive battle. By October 1805, the situation was as follows. The British fleet consisted of 27 line of battleships under Admiral Nelson. The Allied fleet, French and Spanish, had numerical superiority, 33 line of battleships. The total number of crew members was about 46,000 people, 20,000 French and Spanish versus 16,000 British. Despite numerical inferiority, the British had several important advantages: higher level of crew training, better organization and discipline, more modern ships with effective artillery, experienced command staff. Decisive day, October 21. In the morning of October 21, the Franco-Spanish fleet was moving along the Spanish coast. Villeneuve noticed the approaching British and ordered the ships to turn around. However, this maneuver took too much time and disrupted the fleet's formation. Nelson took advantage of the enemy's mistake and decided to divide his fleet into two divisions. This tactic allowed him to break through the enemy line and attack ships from both sides simultaneously. The flagship, Victory, led one of the divisions. The battle began around noon. The British ships methodically approached the enemy despite heavy fire. During this attack, Admiral Nelson was wounded by a sniper from the French ship, Redoutable. The wound proved fatal, but the admiral lived long enough to learn of his victory before dying. Course of the battle: the British ships successfully penetrated the enemy line and began systematically destroying or capturing French and Spanish vessels. Villeneuve attempted to organize a defense, but his efforts were unsuccessful. Main stages of the battle: 1. Breaking through the enemy line. 2. Individual battles between ships. 3. Defending captured ships from counterattacks. 4. Additional attack on the remnants of the French fleet. By the end of the day, the results were clear. The British did not lose a single ship. Out of 33 French and Spanish ships, 18 were captured, 1 sank, the rest managed to escape, but their combat capability was severely damaged. Consequences of the battle. The Battle of Trafalgar had far-reaching consequences for all participants. 1. For Great Britain, strengthening the status of a naval superpower. 2. For France, final abandonment of invasion plans. 3. For Spain, loss of a significant part of the fleet and influence at sea. Nelson became a national hero of Great Britain, although he did not live to see full recognition of his achievements. His name became a symbol of courage and professionalism. A monument was erected in his honour in London, Trafalgar Square. Analysis of victory reasons. A detailed analysis of the battle highlights several key factors in the success of the British fleet. 1. Tactical genius of Nelson. 2. High qualification of crews. 3. Technical superiority of ships. 4. Effective fire control system. 5. Proper use of weather conditions. Particularly noteworthy is the role of Nelson as a commander. His ability to make quick decisions and adapt to changing situations played a decisive role in the outcome of the battle. Impact on future history. The Battle of Trafalgar determined the further course of the Napoleonic Wars. After this victory, Britain gained freedom of action at sea, which allowed it to 1. Support continental allies. 2. Continue developing the colonial empire. 3. Participate in major land operations. For Napoleon, the defeat became a turning point. He could no longer count on naval help and focused on land campaigns. A month after Trafalgar, the famous Battle of Austerlitz took place, where the French army achieved one of its most brilliant victories. Personalities of participants. Horatio Nelson, 1758–1805, British admiral, living legend of his time, known for his decisiveness and innovative tactical solutions, died in the most famous battle of his career. Pierre de Villeneuve, 1763–1806, French admiral, commanding the combined fleet, lacked extensive experience in naval battles, committed suicide after captivity. Federico Gravina, 1756–1805, Spanish admiral, participant in the battle, sustained severe injuries and died shortly thereafter. Significance of the battle in modern history. The Battle of Trafalgar remains one of the most studied naval battles in history. It shows how important decisions by one person can determine the course of historical events. Thanks to this victory, Great Britain secured its position as a great maritime power for many decades ahead. In today's world, the battle continues to serve as an example of effective use of tactical thinking and professional preparation. It is studied by military academies at different countries as a classic example of a naval battle. Conclusion. The Battle of Trafalgar was much more than just a military clash of two fleets. This was a battle for dominance in the world's oceans, which determined the future of many nations. Thanks to the courage and genius of Horatio Nelson, Great Britain preserved its position as a great maritime power, which significantly influenced the further development of world history. Today, more than 200 years later, we can appreciate the true significance of this event. It shows how important preparation, leadership, and the ability to make decisions are in uncertain conditions. The Battle of Trafalgar will forever remain in the memory of humanity as an example of how victory can be achieved even in the most difficult circumstances.